Good morning, Open Heart. It is good to be with you. Namaste and blessings upon all of you this day. Our January theme is New Every Moment. Our talk title is What's New? You. The text that'll be the foundation for where we go today, our journey today, is from the sacred text of Christianity. The first one is from 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, they are a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. And then Revelations 21:15. The one who sat on the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. What is the purpose of my talk today? A simple invitation to be, talk, think, act, interact in the new way of the Spirit's creation, to be, as both those texts invite us, to behold, to have the eye to see where Spirit is moving into new, and to allow that newness into our lives. Or to allow that new to come in, we have to let go of the old ways which are comfortable and safe to us, but oftentimes can be toxic and harmful because they have passed their way. Just like some old food in the fridge. It was good when it was new, but 6 months later in the fridge, you probably should not eat it. And then thirdly and lastly, to be in the, and bring the Christ consciousness, that new creation in every way, always, and in every opportunity. If we are the same as the people who are in the world, why are we even at Open Heart? We are wanting to be, or I'll speak for myself, I am wanting to be in that Christ consciousness, forever growing, forever renewing, forever new. And this is an opportunity in this new year to bring that energy, to be that energy. And I invite you to join with me as God, Spirit, the divinity within us makes us new every day, new every moment. We're being renewed, and there's a renewal and a new creation, and to be bold and live that way. Now is the time for you to be the new you. The gift of 2020 and being locked in the house is that we were no longer able to distract ourselves, that the old energy and the toxic ways of being was in our face. You know, in some ways, the sacrifice of George Floyd, in many ways, it wasn't new, not for my community. You know, we can go back to Emmett Till, or even Gail graduated in 1971 from San Fernando High School. And a boy that she went to high school with didn't make it to the fall, didn't make it to September. He got picked up by the police, and in the 15 minutes that it took him in that LAPD car ride, he was alive when he got picked up. But when he arrived at the police station, he was not. So that harmfulness towards the other isn't anything new. And then the attempted coup, which demonstrates that old energy is going to be about me, and it's going to be about my privilege, it's going to be about me being better than everyone else, and I'm up here and you're down there, and you know, I'm hot. That energy is no longer serving us. Thank you, Donald Trump, for making people feel safe to where they could bring that energy out, and we could finally say, show the world this stuff is not working. And now is the time to bring in the new, the renewed, the evolved person, energy, and consciousness to the forefront. Behold, I make all things new. People fight change, but they don't understand that new is where the Spirit is. New is what God is doing. New is where we need to be. So I'm inviting us to be about the new every moment. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, they are a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. So I'm not bringing some old churchy style stuff in, but that in Christ, in that Christ consciousness, what did Master Teacher Jesus demonstrate? That when you have that Christ understanding, you are one with God. You see divinely, you hear divinely, you speak divinely. We all act in that connection with oneness. There is no other, there is no lack, there is no illness, because God is all. And that new eye says, I see health where there's a diagnosis of something else. I see all your needs being met where you're talking about not having enough. That is the new creation that is being a part of Christ consciousness. It's about letting go of the old way of being. That's what that coup was about. Fear, rejection, self-loathing, feeling less than. And so an opportunity to play small in a toxic way, that energy is not working. But so many people, just like I have my house coat here, so many people are just wrapped up in that familiar and that comfy that they don't want to let it go. Well, if you are in Christ, in your Christ consciousness, being the light of love, as Jah Jadish says, then you got to let that go. And for you and I, it's time to be the new, to bring the light, to bring the love, to bring the joy. And part of the problem is that some people think that they're in Christ consciousness because they're in the church or they're in the spiritual center. But I can tell you, and John can tell you, my friend Reverend Petty can tell you, most preachers can tell you, there's people who are in the church or in the spiritual center, but the church and the spiritual center is not in them. I'll give you an example of a lady named Mrs. Whitfield. I can say her name now without having hatred fly out of my heart. But she was a pain, my first pastoral assignment. Hateful, accusatory, rejecting, toxic. I mean, it couldn't have been anything that I had done to her because I had just got there. She was so unfriendly, but yet she was in the front row of the church. You know, when she'd be at annual conference, she'd be all up in everybody's business, all smiling. And then, Lord, you get her in a board meeting or in a place where no one was around, and it was like the spirit of evilness and horribleness was in her. And whew. And I will say that when people started talking about her and telling me stuff about her, I loved it. I loved hearing about it. And I thought, yeah, because she's nasty. And that's the type of nasty person she is. And I was loving it. But my brothers and sisters, I tell you, that spirit of Mrs. Whitfield is everywhere. In every church, in every spiritual center, at Centers for Spiritual Living, at your work. Because what Spirit revealed to me years later is she had been rejected so much, she was going to reject first. And she had been wounded so much that she was going to wound first. And she was going to build a wall that you couldn't get through. That she was constantly operating in that old energy. You're not going to get me. You're not going to hurt me. I'm going to protect myself. Stay away. Get back. Don't come near me. And too many people who claim to be the light of love. Even, light workers. My daughter got so upset when this whole thing happened with George Floyd, the sacrifice of that man's life. A mighty, mighty, mighty goddess, a light worker, was posting that stuff on her Instagram page. People were like, no, we're of the spirit. We're not supposed to talk about that stuff. She's like, nuh-uh. If you are the spirit, spirit's for light, spirit's for life, spirit's for hope, not for death and executing and making people the other. And she lost a lot of people on her page because she was in the new. She was connected with her Christ consciousness. And what I'm saying is that this is the time. Release those old ways of being. They are toxic. They are unhelpful. They are harmful. Part of the challenge is years ago, a preacher talked about this in a sermon. How would you feel if you were on your way to the hospital, you were sick, or you were taking someone who was sick, and someone said, look, I see a big building with an H on the top of it. I bet that's a hospital. And when you got in there and you drove through the parking lot, it said, doctor parking only, and outpatient over here, and women's center over here, and it had a sign that said emergency, and you parked, and you're all hopeful, you're like, we're almost there. Come on, we're going to make it. And you get up to the front door, and you say, hey, this is a hospital, right? Oh no, the H stands for hotel. We just like the hospital design. How would you feel that if something that presented itself as a place of healing, that there was hope, a renewal, and life was really not that, and you had put your focus on getting there? Or if you were in trouble and you were frightened, and for black folks, let's just pretend for a minute, and you were running to a police to get help, and you saw a person in blue uniform, had their little billy stick and a gun in their cap. And you were like, oh, police officer, please help me. They're like, oh, I'm not a cop. Say, but you got on a uniform. Oh, yeah, I just like the fashion. And so the challenge is for too many of us, we've got the uniform on of the light. We've got the uniform on of spirituality. But there's nothing inside. there's no substance. That's the old way. Jesus himself told the Pharisees and Sadducees, you guys like something that looks good on the outside, a sepulcher, but inside ain't nothing but dead bones. That's keeping the old way alive. But behold, I make all things new. New is the new. It's the Christ consciousness way. It's moving forward with boldness. It's loving where you're met with hate. It's seeing health, no matter what the diagnosis or prognosis. It's the time to not just wear the uniform of people of light, of people of Christ consciousness, but to be that inside and eternally. Behold, be that new creation. I want to end our time together in the Christian Bible. There are 7 names of God. Jehovah Nissi, God my refuge. Jehovah Jireh, God will provide. Jehovah Rapha, God heals. Jehovah Shalom, God our peace. Jehovah Ra, God our way and shepherd. Jehovah Tsidkenu, God our righteousness. And Jehovah Shammah, God is there ever present. So again, as we take a look at this through our metaphysical eyes, we understand that this is presenting that as we connect with our Christ consciousness and live in oneness, these become our attributes. These attributes are ours. And so I'm not just talking at us about be the light and live in the light. I am saying do that, but how? So here are 3 simple ways. I'm going to take 3 of those names and encourage us to be those. Jehovah Rapha, the God who heals. Simple question. Are you the healing or the sickness in a conversation, in an interaction, in a communication? That new way of bringing God is to bring health and wholeness. You get around your friends and they love to gossip and talk some mess about, and you like, the new is to say, well, there has to be something good about that person. Or if they're so awful, instead of talking about them, let's hold a consciousness for a healing to come to them so that they may walk in wholeness. You know, when you get around your family and people, my family's all cliquish. So it's me and my mom, my sister, Lily, and Raven, my niece. My cousin Erlena, my uncle Dallas, my Aunt Chris used to be, rest in peace, and her kids. But now we got to get together. We have to stop being in our different parts. We are stronger together than we are apart. And so the question is, are we bringing Christ consciousness that we are a healing presence in circumstances? Jehovah Shalom, God our peace. Do we bring peace to a circumstance, or are we stirring the pot? And then lastly, Jehovah Shammah. The Shema, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Are we bringing the presence of God wherever we go? Do people feel at peace around us because they feel calmness, oneness, knowingness? I'm in the present. I'm not allowing the past, and I'm not allowing the future. I am in this place. And in this place, I am looking for God to do the new. Say, well, I can't get the newness of God in my life. Well, let me just tell you then, got too much old in there. Got too much old. We've got to release. I release and I let go. We say that every Sunday. Are you doing it or just singing about it? You know, Frozen, let it go. Let it go. The time is now. The world needs the risen Christ consciousness. Look at what's happening. These are people crying out for healing, for peace, for the presence of God. Are we bringing it? Simple question. What's new? Is it you? Is it me? The answer is we are new. We are in Christ. The consciousness of Christ. The understanding of Christ. Just a kid's lunch here, that's enough. Your friend's dead, now he's alive. We killing you, I'll live forever. That's that new mindset, that new consciousness that understands, behold, God makes everything new. There is no situation that God cannot renew or create in a new way. Are we in that consciousness, new every moment? Or are we, as Jesus said, shiny on the outside and empty on the inside? I invite you all to be the new, amazing, wonderful creation that God has created you to be. Peace and blessings.